Alright mates, how's it going? In today's video, Chapter 11 of Rise of the Horde by Christy Golden. I think this is the halfway point of the story, so let's get... You what, mate? Ner'zhul looked absolutely furious. His apprentice Gul'dan winced as his master flew into a fit of all caps rage. But Durotan did not bat an eye. I released the prophet Velen. Your orders were to take him and the others prisoner. Now Ner'zhul was only partly angry because of the missed opportunity, the fact that they could have extracted quite a bit of information from Velen, but the main reason he was angry was because he was absolutely terrified of how Kil'jaeden would react. The beautiful being had seemed so bloody excited about the plan, and somewhere down the line it had been agreed that Velen would be given to Kil'jaeden as a sort of present. What the hell was he supposed to do now? But the fact that he felt fear rather than being disappointed by the failure was not lost on the Elder Shaman. You put me in charge of capturing them, and capture them I did. But there is no honour in a prisoner taken willingly. You want us to be strong, as a people, rather than individual clans. We can't do that without a code of honour. Durotan carried on talking, but Ner'zhul wasn't listening, because he was starting to have some doubts again. There were a lot of alarm bells about this Kil'jaeden bloke, but Ner'zhul then realised he could feel Gul'dan's gaze upon him. Probably wasn't the best idea to let his apprentice witness his doubts. Ner'zhul then blinked and came back to himself and noticed Durotan had stopped talking, and there was an awkward silence, which continued because Ner'zhul didn't have a bloody clue how best to handle this. Durotan was well regarded among the clans. If he were to be punished for his disobedience, there would be many who would respond with sympathy to the Frostwolf clan, which in turn might cause a rift in this horde that Ner'zhul was trying to build. On the other hand, if he condoned Durotan's actions, it would be a slap in the face to those that fervently supported that the Draenei must die. So Ner'zhul just kind of stared at Durotan, who started to frown impatiently. My master is so overcome with rage that he cannot speak. You have disobeyed a direct order from your spiritual leader. Return to your camp, Durotan. My master will send you a letter shortly, conveying his decision. Durotan looked back to Ner'zhul, his dislike of Gul'dan plain on his face, and Ner'zhul gathered himself, stood tall, and finally spoke. Begone, Durotan. You've pissed me off. And worse, you've displeased the being who has shown us such favour. You will hear from me soon enough. The Frostwolf chieftain bowed, but did not leave immediately. He had one more thing to say. There is one thing I do bring you. We took these off the prisoners. Durotan passed a small sack to Ner'zhul, and the shaman extended his hand to accept it. Ner'zhul realised his hand was shaking, and hoped desperately that both Durotan and Gul'dan would believe it to be rage shakes, not fear shakes. Our shaman believe they may hold power that we can use against the Draenei. And then Durotan bowed again and left, like a boss. Forgive my interruption, my master. I feared the Frostwolf boy would misinterpret your anger as hesitation. The words sounded sincere enough, and Gul'dan's face seemed sincere, and yet Ner'zhul just could not bring himself to trust his own apprentice. There was a time when he would have confessed his doubts, but now the Elder Shaman knew one thing for absolute certain. Do not tell this little asshole the truth. I was indeed overcome with rage. Honor serves nothing if it hurts your people. What did Durotan give you? I will examine it first, and share it with Kil'jaeden, apprentice. Ner'zhul was looking for a reaction from Gul'dan, and for the briefest of moments, anger flitted across his apprentice's face, before quickly disappearing. Of course. Forgive me. I was just curious to see if the Frostwolf chieftain had contributed anything of worth. Indeed. I will let you know if I learn anything. Gul'dan then bowed, and also left, not like a boss. And Ner'zhul, as soon as he was certain he was alone, opened the sack and gasped, for inside were 2 glowing gems. The Elder Shaman gingerly touched the red one, and gasped again, because energy, excitement, and a sense of power flowed through him. He suddenly wanted to grab a weapon and swing it around. This was indeed a gift to the orcs. If they could figure out a way to utilise this red-hot passion for fighting that lurked inside the stone, then they'd be stronger than ever. It took a great effort of will for Ner'zhul to put the red crystal down, but once he did, he turned his attention to the yellow one and picked that one up. But this time, there was no excitement, no urgency. As he grasped the yellow crystal, his mind cleared, and he realised up until this point he'd been seeing things as if through a weird fog or something. There was a new clarity, a precision to everything. In fact, it was so clear that Ner'zhul began to perceive this mind-opening experience as painful, and kind of went, ugh, as he instinctively threw the crystal across the room. Kil'jaeden was just as furious as Ner'zhul feared he would be. Forgive me. Ner'zhul felt like the being was just about ready to smite him, so he squeezed his eyes shut in anticipation. But after a few moments of nothing happening, he reopened them to see Kil'jaeden once more looking serene, poised and calm. I am disappointed, but I know two things. The Frostwolf Chieftain is the one responsible, and you will never, ever trust him with an important task again. Of course not, my lord. Never again. But we found these crystals for you. They are of little use to me, but I think your people might find them helpful in your battle to crush the Draenei. That is your battle, is it not, Ner'zhul? Yes, lord. It is the Ancestors' will. It is my will. Yes, and I obey you in all things. Kil'jaeden seemed satisfied, so he nodded and buggered off, and Ner'zhul sank back, wiping the sweat from his brow. But, out of the corner of his eye, he then saw a flash of something. Bloody Gul'dan. He'd seen everything. Sometime later, Ner'zhul looked at the mountain of missives that had arrived and read one. We have been planning an attack for some time now, and last night we went ahead and did it. No one was left alive, not even the few children we found. We took a whole bunch of things, food, armor, weapons. We will share this bounty. Their blood, blue and thick, dries now upon our faces. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go dance in the moonlight and masturbate. There was no need to read them all. The essence of these letters were always the same. A successful attack, glory in the killing, ecstasy of the blood spilled. With each month that had passed, the orcs had grown even more skilled at killing the Draenei, especially now that they had the stones that Durotan had confiscated. But despite all this, Ner'zhul still couldn't shake those nagging doubts. He tried fighting against the suspicions, but they kept coming back, and he could no longer bear it. So, he jumped on his wolf, Sky Chaser, and set off. He'd never ridden to the sacred mountain before. He'd always walked, as is tradition. But he needed to return before he was missed. The urgency of his mission would surely mitigate any offence to the Ancestors. Soon enough, Ner'zhul reached the Mountain of Spirits, told his wolf to stay, and climbed the mountain. Inside the cavern, he took a deep breath, and waited, and waited, and waited, and nothing happened. But he didn't panic. Sometimes the Ancestors take their time. But after what felt like an hour passed, he started to worry a little bit. Ancestors, beloved dead, I have come begging for wisdom. I have lost my way. I question the path I'm on, and I beseech your guidance. Please, if ever you loved and cared for those who have followed in your footsteps, come to me now and advise me, so I may lead them well. Ner'zhul knew he sounded lost and pathetic, and for a moment, stubborn pride made him feel flushed with shame. But then he remembered this wasn't about him, it was about the orcs, and what was right for them. Suddenly, the room then started to glow, and a figure appeared. Wul'Karn. Tears streamed down Ner'zhul's face at the sight of his beloved, but his heart then lurched with pain as he saw the look in her eyes. 'Twas hatred. Even more figures then started to appear, all with that same look on their faces, and Ner'zhul felt nausea well up inside. Why? Why do you all look at me so? You are not a saviour of your people, but their betrayer. No, tell me what to do and I'll do it. Surely it's not too late. You are not strong enough. If you were, you would never have walked so far down this path. You would not have been so easily fooled into doing the bidding of one who has no love for our people. You bitch. I don't understand. You came to me, Wul'Karn. I heard you. Kil'jaeden was the one you wanted me to embrace. The great friend to all the orcs. Wul'Karn said nothing. She didn't have to. Even as the words tumbled from Ner'zhul's lips, he came to understand how profoundly he'd been misled. It wasn't Wul'Karn that had been visiting him in those dreams. It had all been a trick. The Ancestors were right. Any shaman who could be so easily deceived could never be trusted to put things right again. Nearly 100 Draenei were dead. There was no turning back, no requesting aid from the Ancestors. One by one, the floating ghostly figures, Wul'Karn included, began to turn their backs on Ner'zhul, figuratively and literally, and the elder shaman, crushed beneath the weight of everything he'd done, buried his face in his hands and wept. And crouching in the darkness, down one of the tunnels, Gul'dan listened to the sound of his master sobbing, with a real douchebag grin on his face. Kil'jaeden would definitely appreciate hearing about this. And we're leaving it there! Bit sad, isn't it? I always felt a bit conflicted about that part of the story. I appreciate that Ner'zhul had kind of irreversibly damaged the orcs in a lot of ways, but I still feel like the Ancestors are kind of victim blaming. They're like, What are you, stupid or something? You're dead to us, and we're not going to offer any help. This is your problem. Link in the description if you're interested in buying this book, as well as for my Discord and my Patreon too. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, all of that bollocks. And all that's left to say is, thanks for watching, and see ya!